and something to add to it. Did a call this afternoon about Eddie and Jackson. Eddie was taken to the hospital this morning sometime, and they found out he had shingles on his face and around his eye. So they've given him some medicine for that. They do not want any visitors. So he's at home. Then Jackson was not feeling good this morning, running a temperature last night. They took him to the ready med this afternoon, and he has type B flu. I don't know the difference between A and B. He has a flu. And he's supposed to be off for about 5 days from school. So let's remember them both in our prayers, as Brother David did earlier. And in the bulletin, there are others on the list. Ken had his treatment Wednesday. He's usually pretty tired after that, so let's remember him and Sister Jeanette in our prayers. Good to see our ladies back from the ladies' retreat. And I understand they had a good time. I'm glad they did, and had a lot of good lessons. And I appreciate that. Appreciate them working on the bears. For those of you who don't know, we send bears to one of the local hospitals. And for the young people, children, when they go to the emergency room, and the ladies took bears and worked on them this weekend. The Camp Inagahee Fall Retreat that some of the young people are going to, again, it's $50 per camper. See Mark and Ashley for more details about that. And there's a flyer out there in the foyer. We had the men's business meeting today, and the minutes should be posted sometime next week. If you have any questions about that, there'll be a pumpkin carving at the Paget's house on October the 26th at 6:30 p.m. Everyone's invited. If you plan on carving a pumpkin, you'll need to bring your own pumpkin. So bring finger foods also to share, and they will have soft drinks provided. We got a letter from the Palm Beach Lakes congregation. That's the congregation we sent the donation to for the hurricane relief. And if you didn't get a chance to look at it, we read it today at the business meeting, and there's quite a lot of work going on. We appreciate our effort to help with that, but you get a report on that. It's out there in the foyer. There's a gospel meeting at the Bellevue Road congregation, 6th through the 9th at 7 p.m. nightly, and the speaker will be Victor Eskew, and there's more information about that in the foyer also. We need a teacher for the 4- and 5-year-old class for Wednesday night. This is for winter quarter starting October the 30th. So please, if you can do that for us, please sign up and teach that class. That's all the announcements that I know about right now. And so we'll get on with the lesson. You saw what I had up there before. Most ladies want to look as attractive as they can, and the Nelson household appreciates that, as my wife works at Walmart in the beauty section, and so the more you buy, the more the stock goes up and things like that, I suppose. But we appreciate it, ladies. Don't get me wrong. We appreciate what you do. Some of you, you don't need makeup to start with, but you think you do. So Karen says she does at least. So anyway, that's up to her. But there's something else we need to make look attractive. So that's Christianity. You know, we spend even men spend money on getting hair treatments, and I know some men actually get pedicures and all that kind of stuff. I've never done that. I'm sure they thank me that I haven't. But we spend a lot of money on that kind of stuff. But let's think about how we can make Christianity attractive. I've got a few suggestions for us tonight. First of all, working to make Christianity attractive. Number one, we need to let our manner of life be such as becometh the gospel. That's what Philippians 1:27 tells us. So let your conversation be as it becometh the gospel of Christ, and whether I come and see you, or else be absent, I may hear your affairs, and you stand fast, one in the Spirit, and one mind, striving together for the faith of the gospel. That's one way to make the gospel attractive, to make Christianity attractive to our community, is to have this oneness together in our life. We live in such a way that everybody knows, well, that's a member of the congregation down there at the Church of Christ. You know, everybody knows us out here in the community. They see us. And sometimes I think people think, well, you know, nobody's paying attention to me. But you'd be surprised the number of people who are paying attention to you. And if you do something wrong, If you do something unchristian, I guarantee you, they'll point that out to you, and from then on, they'll have a bad taste in their mouth about the congregation here at Richmond Hill. But not only that, they'll have a bad taste about God in general. And so if we're working to make Christianity more attractive, we need to make our life become as close to the gospel as it possibly can. And that comes in a lot of places. For instance, how do you treat others? You know, do you think about that? How do you treat others? Now, does your life make Christianity look attractive? And we're going to talk about, we'll overlap here several times. Does Christianity look attractive to those in your family? Do your children see Christianity as something that they want to be a part of? Mom and Daddy, they're Christians and they're always working, they're doing stuff for the Lord, and I want to be like them. You see, that's what's going to help influence them as to what they're going to do when they get older. Well, what about when we're helping people in our community? Do we show Christianity to our friends and neighbors? You know, some of our neighbors may be elderly, or maybe they need a hand now and again for different things. Do we see about our neighbors? Now, I understand how our culture is now. You know, we all have our homes, and we see each other. Maybe when we're going to the car sometimes. But you know, it doesn't hurt to go across and speak to your neighbor every once in a while and let them know you're Christians. A lot of the services sometimes. Does your life make Christianity look attractive? But secondly, let's let our light shine before men. You heard the kids up here in that little class I do with them, and that Christian light, and they mean that. They're letting their Christian light shine. And that, friends, that's what we as adults need to do also. We need to let our light shine. Matthew chapter 5, verses 14 to 16. I was checking to make sure that's on the screen. He said, "You're the light of the world. A city that's set on a hill cannot be hid, neither do light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and give light to all in the house. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven." We had a lesson not too many weeks ago about why we do things. We do things to glorify God, not to bring glory to ourselves, but to give glory to God. Well, if our light's not shining brightly as a child of God in our community, wherever we live, then we're not doing what God wants us to do. You know, how are we ever going to bring anybody to Christ if we act like the world ourselves? If our light's not shining, and maybe our light's kind of dim sometimes. You know, we'll go through spells when our faith is not as strong as it needs to be, when our want to and our get up and go maybe is not what it needs to be, and that comes from time to time. But even when that light's getting a little dark on the side, and some of you probably never used an oil lamp, but if you let that oil lamp get away from you, it'll blacken the sides of it and you can't see anything. Well, we can do that with our lives. If we're not living our lives so it's shining, that God is shining forth to the community around about us, to our friends, to our neighbors, to our family, then we'll never convert them. And that doesn't make Christianity look attractive. So let's let our manner of life be such that they see Christ in me, and let's let my light shine brightly for the Lord. And when somebody thinks of my name or your name, they immediately think, that's a Christian. I want to be like that person. I remember, young people, you might, when you're going to school, you may think, well, my friends, they make fun of me because I'm a Christian, and they say things about me, this or that. Well, I can remember that happening, but, I was in my hometown there. I'd been out of high school for years, and I hadn't even gone to school to preach yet, and this old boy I went to school with, he came up to me and he said, "Riley," and before he wouldn't even spoke to me because I wasn't one of the upper class in school, and he was, and he wouldn't even give me the time of day, but he wanted to talk to me. He said, "I fell off a roof," and I thought of you. Well, that troubled me for a minute. Why do you think of me when he fell off? He said, "But you were always a Christian. You acted like a Christian. I needed to have God in my life." Well, now, his feelings towards that matter were different than what the truth is, but he didn't want to listen. But at least there was an influence there that I didn't even know existed. So we don't know how many people we're influencing by everything we do. So we need to let our light shine before men. Number 3. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot about this slide. This slide is important because it breaks this down. I don't know how I forgot this one. But how does your light shine? Well, first of all, how does your light shine at home? How does your light shine at home? Are you a Christian husband that you need to be? I fail sometimes, I'll be honest. I fail sometimes. I have to ask Suzy's forgiveness and God's forgiveness. I fail sometimes. Are you the Christian wife you need to be? Are you the Christian wife you need to be? Are you there for your husband when he needs you? Are you standing by him always when he's having a bad day? Are you there for him to build him up and to be there for him and to help him? Do you live your life so that he knows that you respect him as the head of the household? Do you show him that you love him? And children, do you act like Christian children? Do you act like Christian children? Do you obey mom and dad as you're supposed to? How's your light shining at home? You know, sometimes we think about our light shining out there in the world only, but that light shines in the home too. We got to make sure it's right. What about at work? You know, tomorrow, most of us are going to go different places. Well, you know, you set the Christian example when you're at work. You know, I remember working in different places. I remember I worked at a food house one time, and there was a former preacher there, not of the church, and preached for a denomination. But this man, I didn't know he was a Christian for the longest time. And in fact, one of the truck drivers came into the warehouse one day, and he was showing me some stuff, and I didn't want to see what he was showing me. It was something over. And I was just so surprised. In a couple of months, I was talking to him about something. He said, "Oh yeah, I go to the Church of Christ over in this other town." And come to find out he was a member. But you see, he wasn't showing the Christian example. His light wasn't shining. What about with our friends at work? And, you know, the friendship is something that it's going to happen. But we got to make sure those friends are the right kind of friends, and they know where we stand on right and wrong. You know, sometimes at work, well, just put this in your pocket, we'll just take a shortcut here. I worked at a food warehouse one time, and what I did, I wished I'd never done it, but I did. I was over the cigarettes and tobacco department. That was my department. Well, most of y'all don't have any idea about this. Several years ago, about, I guess, almost 40 years ago now, the government decided they were going to put a big tax on all the cigarettes. Well, we had a warehouse, and the cigarettes had probably fit in this room. We furnished stores in 3 different states. And the manager came to me and he said, "Now, we're going to sell all these cigarettes on December 31st. Tax went into effect on the 1st. And so we had a lot of sales. We worked 7, 8 o'clock. Went there at 7 in the morning, worked 7, 8 o'clock at night. Getting the government stamp on those things and sending them out. And then I figured out what was going on. You see, if they weren't in the warehouse, we didn't have to pay tax on them. And about 2 weeks later, these returns kept coming in. And I didn't understand because we were still getting semi after semi of these cigarettes, but all these cigarettes were coming back in. And then I understood what was going on because the IRS came to see us. Actually, it was the Tennessee State Board of Revenue. And the boss asked me to say something. I just told him I can't do that. If you want to talk to him, you talk to him. I can't say that. Why? Because he was asking me to do something that was going to be a lie. And I couldn't do that. You say, "Well, I can't tell my boss I can't do something." Yes, you can. You got a boss bigger than that boss. That boss is God. If your boss tells you to do something you know a Christian can't do, you've got to tell him, "I can't do that." But what about with your employees, those you have companies? Do your employees know that you're a Christian? Do you act, talk, and say things and do things like a Christian ought to say? Do you give your employees what they deserve? Do you treat them correctly? You see, there's a way sometimes we might not think about our light shining. But wouldn't it be great to own a company and have every member of the company be a member of the church? Wouldn't that be great? You'd have the best workers. If we're the best Christians, you'd have the best workers. And it'd be the best job they ever had. Well, what about when our recreation comes up? What about the Christian example? Now, there's a couple of men in this audience. They'll know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to mention any names, but we had a preacher come one time to hold a meeting, and they took him to play golf. And they came in that afternoon and said, "Riley, he's a preacher." Well, I didn't know what they was talking about, but evidently if he didn't play golf, well, he lost his temper. Well, now that wasn't the right kind of example, was it? You see, even when we're in a recreation, we've got to let our light shine. Well, what about with our friends or even our opponents? How are you when you win at a game? Are you a Christian when you win? Are you a Christian when you lose? You see, those are ways to let our light shine. So how does your light shine? Well, what about worship? What about worship? Is our Christian light shining here? You know, Are we the Christian example we need to be to the children and to our brothers and sisters in Christ? Are we the example we need to be always? And we're going to mess up sometimes. In all these things, we're going to mess up sometimes. We're human beings. But the point is, we need to let our light shine so that those times come further and further apart. Are you a friend and a leader and a teacher? Is your light shining? You know, we got a class that needs a teacher. And I didn't even know we needed a teacher when I wrote this sermon a couple of weeks ago. I didn't even know we needed a teacher. But we need a teacher. Why don't we have one? Well, I couldn't. Why couldn't you? Jesus could have said, I don't want to go to the cross. Well, I'm not Christ. I know you're not, but you're one of his children. You see, are we letting our light shine? Here's an opportunity. Let's take advantage of it. Well, let's go on. Let's let our name be well thought of in the world. Proverbs 22, verse 1. A good name is rather be chosen than great riches, and loving favor rather than silver and gold. I tell my classes that from time to time when I'm teaching young people, that we need to be sure that we realize, first of all, I represent the Nelson family. I represent the Nelsons. And I want everybody to think that the Nelsons, that we're good people. But that's not the name I'm most concerned about. I'm most concerned about the idea that I'm a Christian. I represent Christ. And I want everybody to think well of Christ when they think right. Now, I'm not saying everybody does. I've made mistakes. I've had to repent. I've had to ask forgiveness in different situations. But for the most part, when people think of me, they think of a Christian. Well, that's what we need to do. You see, our names are important. You know, nobody wants their family name to be dragged through the dirt. Nobody wants that. Well, God doesn't either. So when we don't act like a Christian, we're not making Christianity attractive. Sometimes we drag the Lord's name down with us, and that ought not to be. 1 Timothy 3:7 says, moreover, he must have a good report of them without, lest he fall into reproach and snare of the devil. That's talking about the qualifications of another. He must have a good report of them that are without. Why? Lest he fall into reproach himself and into the snare of the devil. You see, the leaders of the congregation, they need to make sure their name is well thought of. You see, Christianity needs to be made attractive too. Well, how do you act at work? How do you act at work or recreation? Do you make Christianity attractive when you're at work, when you're at school? You know, I worked construction before, and that was a time in my life when I wasn't a faithful Christian. And I've told you before, I had a heathen for a boss. He used to be a member of the church, but he'd tell you he's a heathen. Well, after 4 or 5 years of working there, I was talking like the rest of them, and he stopped the crew one time, and he said, look, fellas, this man came to us. He wouldn't have thought of saying anything like he said today. We're going to clean our act up. And from that point on, he wouldn't let them say anything vulgar around me. Well, of course, I was young and stupid at the time, and I didn't understand all that, and I'm glad he did. Then I had a preacher that helped me see what I needed to see and change my life, and I was restored to the Lord, and I'm glad I was. But if that old heathen man, and I wished for everything that he had repented and gone back to the Lord, but he died outside of Christ, or away from Christ. But you know what? He helped me see that I need to act like a Christian anywhere I am. You know, whether it's recreation or school or wherever, we got to remember we want to make Christianity as attractive as we possibly can. You know, if I had a mirror and I put it right back there at the door, and we dismissed the crowd, you know what's going to happen? Men and women are going to stop at that mirror and see if everything's just where it needs to be. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because sometimes it's a good thing. But you know what? We need to put the mirror on our soul sometimes and see whether or not we're what God wants us to be. So let's go on. Let your tongue be controlled at all times. This will make Christianity attractive. I recall one time I was looking for work. I was up in Kentucky, and I went to well, it was Ingersoll Rand Manufacturers, what it was. A friend of mine, one of the deacons worked there, and he said they were looking for help, so I needed a job, so I went there. And I walked in the office, and the secretary was there, and I had to look twice, because back in those days, women did not curse in public. They just didn't do it. Well, this woman was talking worse than some men I had heard. And I couldn't believe that. You know, and I'm thinking, I just don't think she's a Christian. Well, but as a Christian, we ourselves need to make sure we have our tongue in control at all times. James 1:26 says, if any man among you seem to be religious and bridleth not his tongue, he deceiveth his own heart, and this man's religion is vain. You can't talk like the world and be a true Christian. Now, you can say you're a Christian, but that's not going to make it so. If you're a Christian, we've got to learn to control our tongue. Well, I'm pretty good at it except when I hurt myself. I'm sorry. Even if I hurt myself, I got to stop and say, Christians don't talk like that. And I ask God for what I even thought of. We have to control our tongue at all times. Then in James 3 and verse 2, it says, therefore, in many things we offend all. If any man offend not in word, the same is a perfect man, and able also to bridle the whole body. What's he saying? Well, that whole passage there in James chapter 3 talks about the tongue. Talks about how, we lead a horse around with a bridle and a ship with a little rudder, but it talks about the tongue and how it's a fire and can cause so many things. So we have to make sure we have our tongue in control at all times. That'll make Christianity attractive to people. The way we act and the way we talk. 1 Peter 3 and verse 10 says, he that will love life and see good days, let him refrain his tongue from evil and his lips that they may speak no guile. I've heard you say, well, these are pretty simple points I'm making here. Yes, they are, but they're points about life. Because that's the life we live every day. We're going to leave here in a few minutes. Some of us are going to go eat something. Some of us are going to go home. Tomorrow we're going to get up, Lord will. We're going to go here and there. Some are going to go to work. Some got things planned already. But you see, if our light's shining, if Christianity looks attractive to everybody around us, think how many converts we might have in the next year. We need to be thinking about what the world thinks about us. Now, I had a lady one time, and she was here. She's gone on now. But she told me one time that it wasn't up to her what the world thought about her. It was the world's fault. Well, that didn't make any sense when she said it. Because the world's going to think about me and about Christ the way I am. And I've heard people say, well, that's just the way I am. I've said it before. That's just the way I am. Well, I'm sorry. If it's wrong, it's wrong. Some people have to confess to others that they're wrong sometimes, that they made a mistake. Some don't do it very often. Some do. It's really good when they do. But it'll help us to be closer to Christ, to realize, to humble ourselves, and confess to Him that we've sinned, done something wrong. It may not have been sin, maybe it was just something that was wrong. Let's get it straight, and let's make Christianity attractive. Well, how do you talk at work or at play? Or with your family? Sometimes I think we forget about the family. And I say, I'm guilty myself sometimes. We've got to learn not to talk to anybody in our household any worse than to talk to anybody in the world. Now, I know none of y'all have ever done this. You got up on Sunday morning, you got everybody all ready and dressed, you had some little ones, and they were dragging around. Maybe they soiled their clothes, maybe somebody spilled something, maybe one of them doesn't have a shoe or a sock on. Fussing about it, we got to go, we're going to be late, we're going to be late. Now, I know some of you that don't bother too much, but some of us it does. And we're fussing and we're hollering, and we get here and we open the door and there's a brother or sister and we say, well, hello, sister so-and-so. Hello, brother so-and-so. And we smile. But everybody in the car is mad. I say, we've got to think about that. Now, my hand will go up. I said, raise hands. You don't have to raise yours. I've been there. I've done that. Don't like to be late, but I've been late a time or two. But the sun still came up. Well, number 5, let your reality be known to all. Are you a giving person? Do you give of yourself? Not just of your money. Do you give of yourself? Do you give your time and talents to God like you ought? Do you give it to others also? In Galatians 6 and verse 10, Paul said there, as we therefore have opportunity, let us do good to all men, especially those with household faith. Helping others. That's a difficult time, difficult situation sometimes. We have a committee here, and I'm really glad I'm not on it. I had to do some benevolent work a few weeks ago, and I probably made a mistake, but I helped them. Well, they at least know that we help people sometimes. Now, there are people out there who are just after help, and they don't care about anything else. But if we can give not just monetarily, but also give spiritually. You know, if you help somebody, make sure you help them spiritually too. Give them a tract, give them a DVD or a CD we have out there. Take one, if you're going to help somebody, give it to them. He said, let us do good to all men, especially those of the household of faith. Our brothers and sisters in Christ, if we see there's a need, we need to try to meet that need if we can, or help them with it. Now, if there's somebody who's just not going to do anything and they're lazy, you know, Paul, writing there to the brethren in 2 Thessalonians, what he said there was, if man will work, need to let him eat. Because some of those brethren had stopped because they thought the Lord was coming back. And he said, that's not what I said. And if they won't work, don't let them eat. I'm not talking about people like that. I'm talking about people that just, I'm talking about people, I hope they're all right, I wouldn't know. I'm talking about people that are trying, but they're having a tough time. Maybe we could do something for them. Let's see if we can. James 1:27, pure religion undefiled before God the Father is this, to visit the Father's political affliction and to keep himself unspotted from the world. That's the way I'm supposed to be. That's going to make Christianity attractive, because I'm going to make those visits. I'm going to make those visits to people that aren't my kinfolk. Now, it's pretty easy for me to do that because I'm not kin to any of you, most of you. I'm kin to maybe 2 families. But we need to remember there are other people in the hospital. There are other people sick. Now little Jackson, he's got the flu. Don't go see him this week. Send him a card. Eddie said he didn't want visitors, so send him a card. Call him. Just let him know you're thinking about him. But you see, here's a way we can make Christianity attractive. And when the world sees us helping one another and being good to one another and being good to others, they're going to be interested in Christ. 1 Timothy 5:16. But if any man or woman that believeth have widows, let them relieve them, and let not the church be charged. You know what he's saying there? If you've got a family, let the family first take care of the situation, that the church can relieve the widows that are widows indeed. You see, in those days, there were some widows who had nothing. And we help the widows in India. We buy goats for them. And the program that we work with the congregation in Tennessee, they buy goats for them. Those widows are widows indeed. They prove those widows before they'll even give them a goat. But if somebody has somebody to take care of them, you say, let that first be done, and then the church be charged, that the church can do for those who can't do. That's what the Bible teaches on that. You see, but that's going to make Christianity attractive if we're known for these things. Now, how do you give? Now, I put money here because that's part of it. But do you give liberally or do you give grudgingly? Do you make Christianity attractive by how you give? I know some of you, and on this, you far exceed what I'm talking about in helping others and doing things for people. And that's great, and that's the way it needs to be. That's the way we all need to be. But we never need to do something grudgingly. You know, if you're going to help out with the Lord's work, giving of your time and doing something, but you're going to grumble the whole time you're doing it, you know what the Lord would like to tell you? Why don't you just pack your stuff up and go home? You say, well, he wouldn't say that. He said it in the Old Testament. You remember the minor prophets when they brought the sick goat to him and tried to offer it to him? He said, who told you to bring that? He didn't want it. He wanted the best. That means he wants it from in here. Can I help? If I can help, I want to. Now, as we get older, we may have some aches and pains, and we may grumble about hurting here and there. But I'm talking about grumbling because we're having to do something. You see, that doesn't make Christianity attractive. You see a bunch of Christians working together, oh, that's a great thing. I think back in my mind, years gone by, not that we don't work together now, but I can remember being up here in the building, or the old building, on Saturday evening, about 9, 10 o'clock, cleaning a building with some people. It was great times. I remember the lectureships and different things, people gathered together, the Golden Age banquet we used to do. In those days, I call it the old folks banquet, but I don't do that anymore. But those were good times. We worked together on those things. See, well, what I'm trying to get us to see, we want to make Christianity as attractive as it can be. Man, it says to be continued, because I was pretty sure that clock was going to say almost 7 o'clock when I got here. There's about 5 other points I want to bring, and I'll be bringing those most likely next Sunday morning. And by the way, Sunday evening, I don't know if some of y'all may have seen it, but Don Blackwell, the gentleman was injured in the four-wheeler accident and preached a sermon polishing the pulpit. That is an outstanding lesson, and we're going to show that DVD next Sunday evening. That will be the service. And I hope you will make your calendars be sure that you're here to hear this. Because he takes something that's